Representative McClain, you are now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all of the witnesses today. I too have done several roundtables. I've talked to several businesses. I've talked to several people, and this is clearly on vaccine mandates is on everyone's mind. But as it pertains to the businesses, they are very concerned with the mandates. You have the labor shortages, you have the supply chain shortages. You also remember have the businesses who have been hardest hit with all of the mandates, especially from our governor in our state with capacity restrictions and whatnot. They don't feel at all that the mandates are going to make it easier for them to hire employees, especially with 11 million jobs still being out there to be filled. So I think there is there's a lot of division within the country right now. I think what the American people are looking for, quite frankly, is a little bit of truth, transparency, and a lot of consistency, which hasn't been there. So, Mr. Hector, I'd like to start with some facts because I understand everybody's feelings are important, but we got to have some facts at some point in time. A study founded by the National Science Foundation found that unvaccinated people who previously had COVID could expect immunity against reinfection anywhere between 3 months and 5 years. Even a Yale study concluded that antibodies generated from a natural infection were sufficient to protect against COVID on average for at least 16 months. Now, these are facts. These aren't feelings. These aren't hypotheses. My question is, does it make sense to force someone, mandate, and this is a mandate that's not by their doctor, not by their healthcare professional, takes a look at no underlying condition. This is a government person mandating for someone who has had natural vaccines or has natural immunities. Does it make sense to force someone to take a vaccine when they've already recovered from COVID-19 and has natural immunity? Why don't we take that into consideration?
Yes, thank you, Representative McClain. I don't believe OSHA is going to take that into consideration. I appreciate the studies you've cited. I think the CDC has taken a different position. But I can speak to the fact that I think in the ETS context, OSHA has some hurdles to get over to mandate the vaccine in the workplace for anyone because they have to meet their grave danger and the ETS needs to be necessary to address that danger. So not speaking to the issue about immunity, I don't see OSHA necessarily adopting that or taking that into account.
But isn't that the goal we're trying to get is to protect people? Now we're forcing people to get a mandate. But at any rate, I appreciate. The other thing is, Mr. Hector, now that employers will be tasked with tracking vaccinations, do you have an idea of what type of record keeping will be imposed on them?
We don't know that yet since we don't have the text. We can look to the federal contractor, see for Workforce Task Force guidance and see that there were specific documents that were required. But that guidance seems to suggest you just need to show it rather than maintain it. At least that's my read of it. I don't know that OSHA will do that because actually I think former Assistant Secretary Michaels referred to this as basically a record-keeping statute. So I think you can expect a robust record-keeping framework in the ETS.
Of which the businesses will pay for. If an employee suffers an adverse reaction after receiving the vaccine, will this be considered workers' compensation?
I can't speak to that. Workers' comp is really a state-by-state system, and I think there may be different state standards in each. I'm not a workers' compensation.
But I'm assuming that question will be answered before we mandate something, right?
Right. Well, this is something that maybe if there was collaboration and taking account of stakeholder input by OSHA, they may have addressed it or been able to consider it. We'll see.
But here's my concern. We're going to mandate something And we have no ideas what the rules of the game are, yet we're going to mandate something. I mean, we're in the middle of baseball season. Can you imagine going up to the plate and saying, I don't know if you get 3 strikes, 4 strikes, 7 strikes, 2 strikes, just go up to the plate and give it a whirl. If we're going to mandate something, don't you agree? We should perhaps maybe have some of the bugs worked out prior to the mandate.
Right, and I think I said earlier, we should have the data and the science ahead of time. We should know where we're going with this. Again,
that's a little crazy. Having the data and the science, that's a little crazy.
Time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.